Alright, time to get off my ass and actually make a video. As we know, Helldivers 2 has many systems that are pretty complicated. Take damage for example. You've got different stats like, well, regular damage, durable damage, armor penetration, armor value, but that's getting into the complicated things. I'm going to talk about one of the lesser developed mechanics in this game, and that would be boosters. I feel boosters are an underbaked mechanic and could use some reworks so that it avoids people just using the 4 booster meta. I'm going to take careful consideration over all of the boosters that we currently have and ways that they can be improved or reworked into something you would actually take on the highest difficulty. If we take a look at the boosters that are currently being used, there's about 4 or 5 boosters that have been defined as, well, the meta. HSO, or Health Pod Space Optimization, Vitality Booster, the Stamina Enhancement, the Muscle Enhancement, and Experimental Infusion. There are very few divers that don't just take these 4 boosters, and there's even less YouTubers that recommend more than these 5 boosters. And that's something that I'm trying to change. So, some of the boosters on that list are going to get changed, hopefully for the better, or more or less be around the same strength. Because currently, boosters fit into 2 categories. Marginally useful, and I'm probably not going to use that again. And with that introduction out of the way, I'm going to lay down my design philosophy. To me, boosters are meant to affect the in-game mechanics and provide boons to the Helldivers in the field. While some of the boosters affect systems like enemies, I believe most of the boosters should only affect how the Super Destroyer can support the Helldiver. And this of course would come in the form of Hellpods, Eagles, Pelicans, and of course the diver themselves. Keep in mind as I rework these boosters, the expectation is that the game will progressively get more difficult over time. So what we consider D10 now will probably be D7 or D8 in the future. I'm probably going to split up this video into 2 parts. All of the boosters that were available at launch, and all of the boosters that came with war bonds. Alright, let's jump into it. Hellpod Space Optimization, better known as HSO. I find it strange that this booster is named as such when it implies that Helldivers elect to bring less resources despite there being no visual indicator to show that a diver is fully stocked versus at half reserve. So, currently, it makes it so that Helldivers drop with full ammo, stims, and grenades. What I propose is that we do away with that effect and instead replace it so that whenever you pick up a supply cache, it fills all of your ammo, stims, and grenades. It will also fill your current magazines as well. Well, just for primary and secondary. This is so that the ship module that makes it so supplies fully refill your support weapons is still useful. And so, as the name implies, more space is being used to improve the amount of supplies that drop, but yet doesn't involve the supplies dropped, which normally only fill half your grenade and stim reserves, and 2 of each. Ammo pickup is a mechanic that should be considered more, and dropping into a mission with full ammo should be a ship module and not a booster. If you'd like, you can read further into my ship module rework, which I'll probably turn into a video, when it's done. Oh, Vitality Booster, or as other people call it, Health Booster, the de facto choice for most missions. Although, I believe that the name is misleading, much like many of the passives and effects and their descriptions. Right now, Health Booster increases your damage reduction by 10%. Keep in mind this 10% is calculated after all other resistances. So, Health Booster actually does more with heavy armor that's resistant to a specific damage type than light armor of the same armor passive. Instead, I think that the health booster should, boost your health, increasing your maximum health from 125 to 150. I'll still keep a 5% damage reduction, just to, make it feel more or less the same. But the streamlined health increase should be a bit more consistent across all of the different armor types. This change does make it a little worse with heavy armor, but it has better utilization with light and medium. In most cases, it'll increase your long-term sustain and be less of a must-take option, especially keeping in mind the changes that I'll make to the rest of the boosters. It really will be a judgment call whether or not you need the extra health and damage reduction, or if you'd rather take a more offensive or utility-oriented booster. Next is the UAV Recon booster. Right now, all it does is increase your personal radar range by 50%. The same thing that the ship module does. And to improve this, I think that the UAV Recon booster should make it so that you can see other Helldivers' radar on your map. It should also show enemy direction using triangles instead of circle-shaped markers. And it will also have the utility of the Scout passive, which makes it so that map markers produce a small radar ping every 3 seconds. The reason why I'm adding the Scout passive part to this booster is because I'm actually taking it away from the Scout passive in another document. Again, probably going to be another video. Although, that being said, even with these changes, I don't think many people will take it. But for the people who want the enemy information, I mean, this is everything that you want in a nice, efficient package. Alright, stamina enhancement. One of the big 4 booster meta, favored by speedrunners and, well, non-movement backpack divers alike. What it currently does is it increases regen stamina by 40% and increases your total stamina capacity by around 22%. Instead, I think it should increase your stamina capacity by a flat amount instead of a percentage. In addition to this, it should also decrease your stamina usage by 30%. This, of course, includes sprinting, diving, mantling, and swinging your melee weapon. The reasons for this is because right now, I think it has little effect on heavy armor and disproportionately benefits the lasting power of light armor, since light armor already has the highest speed and stamina regeneration. This should make it so that you can run in heavy armor for more than like 5 seconds. And on to the cousin of this booster is the muscle enhancement. To me, I get the mental image of steroids being administered to the divers before dropping. However, this seems to only affect the legs. I want it to be more generalized instead of it just being an alternative to stamina enhancement or even motivational shocks when it comes to its movement utility. Currently, it decreases the slowing effect of difficult terrain, so stuff like snow, mud, sand, as well as other slowing effects such as acid and stun. The reduction in effect strength is around 70%. Get ready for this. The rework that I propose is reducing the current effect from about 70% to only 50%, but also increase your mantle and sliding distance by around 30%, increase weapon handling or ergonomics by 15 points, and increase melee damage by 50%. This will stack linearly with things like peak physique and reinforced epaulets. This should make muscle enhancement seem less like leg day every day and more like peak physique light. And of course this stacks with peak physique, so you can have peak physique 1.5. Alright, and on to a controversial booster. The increased reinforcement budget. All it does is grant additional lives, which kind of puts it in a weird spot considering you'd only bring this if you expect to die a lot. Either you or your teammates. The actual effect is that it increases your reinforcement stock by 1 per Helldiver, so up to 4. My idea is instead of having more dudes, have more stuff per dudes. Increase your ammo capacity for all of your weapons by 10%, and just like Siege Ready, this doesn't affect support weapons that have backpacks. And in most cases, this is only going to increase your magazines by 1 or 2. Additionally, increase your grenade and stim capacity by 1, bringing your totals up to 5 grenades and 5 stims in most cases. Overall, these changes should increase your survivability instead of having additional lives for you to rely on. I think giving a better fighting chance is better than just getting another chance. But that's just me. Alright, and finally, the booster included in the Steeled Veterans War Bond, flexible reinforcement budget. I think this is probably the most unique change of the list that we're going to be talking about here. Objectively, this is just a worse version of the increased reinforcement budget. It could be kind of goated if you could generate more than just one person per diver, but all it does is decrease the time before the next reinforcement by 25%, reducing the 2-minute cooldown to only 1 minute and 30 seconds before you get another reinforcement. The way I would change this is making it so that support weapons and backpacks that only drop with 1 equipment per hell pod now drop with 2, similar to the way that eats deploy, 1 on either side. I think that this would make it so that teamwork and sharing your support weapons and support backpacks is actually something people do. Since you really can't effectively use 2 support weapons unless it's the Quasar or the Commando, you're most likely just gonna give it to your teammate. This would also indirectly increase the amount of stratagems in play, since you can just coordinate with your teammate to bring the build that you want, or a compromise between the two of you, instead of having to bring 2 sets of backpacks and support weapons. And without further ado, that's it. That's this video, or at least part 1. I'd like to give a shout out to Eravin, Thicc, and Grass. These 3 individuals have inspired me to create my own content, and I mean, my next video is already in the works, so be on the lookout for when that drops. And of course, you can always check out my documents. I'm gonna have them linked down below in the description, as well as the links to the people I mentioned. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this content on my channel in the future by leaving a like and subscribing. You know, the normal things. Because if I check right now, 100% of people watching this video are not subscribed. Until then, Helldivers to your Hellpods.